And we're live. That's right. It's Monday. It's a figure action time. So curl yourself up with a nice warm beverage. Get yourself next to a loved one. And if you don't have a loved one, just remember you yourself are special because not only are you with people who care about you, not only are you with people who are with you in the same mindset, you're here with Mike and True Starscreamer. And this is premature. Man, I hate it when this happens. Man, I'm over 40, okay? Man, I just can't work on demand.
Bring it up, bring it up, bring it, bring it, bring it up.
What's up, buddy? Fun fact, I was actually a trained radio disc jockey. I just never got to get the job. I swear, people in the replay squad who listen to Car are going to be like, what the hell was that?
I know. But like you said, it's Monday. It is 9 p.m. And Dave, today is the 2nd of September. So you know what that means?
Discounts on grills?
Possibly. But that also means we are starting the fourth quarter of 2024. And for toy collectors, that means a couple things. Everything you were looking at in the summer and spring is now going to start coming out here. So that means your wallets are going to be feeling the crunch. We've got the holidays, and everyone is already automatically going to start looking at first quarter 2025. And that kind of helps lead into what we're going to talk about tonight with our guest, because he helps provide that itch, that FOMO, that desire for toys that we love to have here as adult collectors. So I'm not going to embellish too much, but he is the master of the racer. He's bringing us some bread trucks. He has taken us to great heights with the Aces of Aviation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to bring on board the face and the voice of Ramen Toy, Ace. Good evening.
Thank you, Mike. What an intro. Hello, Dave, as well.
Hey.
Hello, chat. Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Good. Yep.
Fantastic.
I was a little bit burnt out yesterday. So I came back. It was a Monday for me. Now it's a Tuesday. So I came back and I just had a bit of a nap because I was kind of burnt out. Too much live streams, video editing and stuff like that. So
Jeez.
Takes a toll.
As you say, you are quite the busy man, to say the least, between, as you said, traveling, coming on and talking to individuals like ourselves and dealing with your consumers on various platforms. I mean, you're covering all the bases. And we're going to ask you some more questions tonight about that stuff.
Sure away.
Great. Well, we have some awesome people in the chat so far, and we're going to get more rolling in here. Again, a good friend of all of ours, Kato, is in here. We got a great following here at the Figure Action Podcast. We have McClowering. We have the Titan, as you know, is everywhere online here in the toy community. So hail to you, Titan, and everyone else in the chat, and also in the replay squad. Thank you guys so much for watching our show. We really appreciate it.
And remember, every one of your chats is a super chat. Mostly because we're not monetized.
That's right. Not yet.
So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Quickly head over to True Starscreamer and hit subscribe, and hit over to Mike at Junkie on Crafts and Builds, because that man is getting that much closer to 1,000. Man, he's at 1,000.
Trying hard, guys. So, but
I may be a little caffeinated, guys. I'm sorry.
A little bit. But it's not about us. It's about you, Ace. So how we do things here, we have a little bit of a slide presentation. We kind of guide the conversation along, and then we let it derail as it goes for everyone here. So I guess I'll turn it over to our awesome True Starscreamer to kind of get the ball rolling.
Well, first of all, again, thank you, Mike. And Ace, again, thank you. I guess one of the things that we always to start here is, of course, just who are you? You know, the magic, you know, I remember years ago when the 80s Commanders first appeared, the first teasers for that, and all I was saying was like, okay, first of all, cool, Centurion's awesome, but then I'm like, who is this Ramen Toys? And then we start seeing your name appearing, explaining the process to it all. Literally, just I was breaking down this entire project, which again hadn't really been seen as much, especially for frankly a non Kickstarter private enterprise like this. Um, so I guess who are you, and what made you decide to go down this path? I mean, did you have a background in toy design, or just you decided to be like, you know what, I'm gonna bet on myself and do this?
Well, thanks, Dave. So my name is Ace. Is actually a nickname given to me by my colleagues, my teammates. All right, because on eBay, my user ID is Black Aces,
Okay.
so they sort of shorten it as Ace. In fact, I didn't give myself the name, but since I'm having the name now, let's just go with it, right? It's a stage name for the show. So my name is Noel Lee, and I'm from
Okay.
Singapore. And if you Google me, Noel Lee, NOELLEE, there could be some website that's still on interviewing me from back in the day from Action Figure Hub. So I was, well, so going back, I started on eBay selling my own collection in the year 2000 because I failed as an insurance salesman after graduating from my national service in 1999. So I had a 1 year of, well, not even 1 year, just like the first half of the year doing insurance, but I couldn't make any sale. So I started selling my own stuff that I have in as my collection on eBay, and then anything sold. So some model kits like were fetching 100 US, some garage kits like 200 US. So I had some funds, and then that was my eBay little bit of a story. And then I started going to Japan to attend these events called Wonder Festival, where I would actually take pictures of all the stuff there, post it on the fan site Macross World. So back then I was pretty well known for delivering the fans who weren't able to attend the shows actual coverage of the event. This was before nowadays you have YouTube channels, everything's all shown. So back then it was just putting stuff on the website, a self-made website with proper clear pictures and stuff like that. And then
Mhm.
I started my own little shop in 2003, and that lasted for just under 2 years because also different circumstances arose in toy selling in Singapore. Because from 2000 to 2003, before that, I was actually doing flea market sales. So again, I got my stuff from Japan. I went to the flea market and I sold stuff on Sundays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. I was basically packing and delivering products that I sold. So work on Sundays basically for the flea market, and then enough funds came in, and I did a little shop with a partner, and then that actually closed 2 years later because he decided to leave for his hometown in Malaysia. And I saw an opportunity to advance to Hong Kong, where in 2005, I actually went to Hong Kong to be a merchandiser for the defunct actionhq.com. So Action HQ was a e-commerce site selling action figures, obviously.
I remember
And,
them.
yeah. So they became Pop Box Collectibles because they wanted to do some manufacturing of their own uh, stuff. So the first product that they actually licensed was iRobot. So that was my very first interaction with the factory, because making the iRobot 1/2 scale bus, it involves myself going to the factory to look at the production and stuff like that. And then the Pop Box company also collaborated with Toynami, and hence the advent of the 1/6 scale Robotech figures. Because back then, in the year 2005-06, what was very popular was the Medicom 12-inch figures. So the
Mhm.
company decided to go that route and then make action figures of Robotech in real cloth using the Toynami buck at the time. So
Okay.
things happened, and then in 2007, Transformers the movie came out. There was a chance to license Transformers again. So the company Popbox made some magnet figures and keychains. So I was involved in helping them to paint because I'm a skill modeler. So making things. So yeah, so that was my history. And then in the company went on to license the second round of Transformers movie, the Dark Knight license, did some pull back little Batmobiles and Batpods, which was then taken by a Japanese cinema as premiums giveaway. So that was a good break. But the company never actually thrived on delivering what their vision, because they were basically just doing one license a year, which is not sustainable. So, for example, the first year they were just doing Transformers. The second year, Dark Knight. The third year, Transformers. So it's just not sustainable just to do one license. Long story short, I came out on my own in 2014 to do Caliber Toys in Hong Kong because the bosses of that company decided to call it quits. And then I was left holding the bag because the last product or license that was engaged by that company was the Age of Extinction. So Age of Extinction, they have already did the product prototyping, the coin banks, the action figure carabiners, stuff like that. And then the customers were already there. They already saw the products. They already order. And yet they said they call it a day. So I took the mantle, I took it up, I started my own company, took that license, transferred over to me, and then I did the Age of Extinction. And that was my first time going to Nuremberg to try to sell to people more, to find more distributors, to find more business people, to get my products and hopefully get myself onto the next level. This was to me a springboard, hopefully to the next thing, but it never happened because the Age of Extinction was the one and only license I got as my own fledgling company. And then trying to get a license thereafter was just impossible because I tried to do a Batman license with Warner Brothers, and then the MG was just something that I could not afford, let alone that it was only restricted to Asia. So even though I was in Nuremberg and I had contacts with UK, US, and stuff like that, like Bluefin in the US, UK we have Emerang and stuff like that, I couldn't sell, right? So the boss was asking me, "Is your license covering UK?" I said no. So there was just no way. So sorry, I was going on a tangent about myself.
No, this is
And
awesome. This is
so
awesome.
finally, COVID happened in 2020, and then in 2021, I was telling my partners, my friends in Singapore, hey, when are we going to start this third-party thing? Because we talked about it for so long, since myself coming out in 2014 until now, so 6 years. What we're going to do? So since COVID was around, nobody was doing anything. They just said, "Oh, you have that scalps. Let's just do it," and we did it. Yeah.
Like I said, bet on yourself. A lot of people are doing that then. And dude, first of all, I think that's the first time I've heard the full secret origin.
Oh, that's but you asked the right questions.
I love it. I love it. We did have a question here. Were you from Calibre Toys? Was that a different
Caliber
Oh,
Toys? Yeah, it's me. That's
Okay.
me. Yeah, Caliber Toys. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, you got a good history on there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like the 80s Commanders totally blew the internet up. You hit that perfect nostalgia piece for them, I think. It was a license, or it was a subject matter that I think had fallen through the cracks, and I definitely say you've done justice with it. Everyone was just always following that one for every bit of info you have.
All right. So I have a question for myself, and then I'll follow up with a Titan here. So the breakdown on ramen we have here on the bottom part of the screen, was that something that kind of came out of the ether as you and your partners were kind of working together during COVID and trying to come up with a focus, I guess, for the company? Or has it always been like the desire to go into a specific niche of bringing back 80s products and licenses that haven't been touched in a long time?
Yes, the whole idea was to bring back the 80s nostalgia. That was the whole idea. We were not going to go in to do the next Iron Man, the next, you know, whatever that's in now, the next Optimus Prime. Those has been done till death. So let's do something that is not done before. Because they say, right, you have to, they say that there's a reason why it's not done before. Maybe it doesn't work, right? But then again, why go the route that is working and yet you're in a pool of many competitors? Does that work? Right? Would that be a wise decision to go in and crowd and then push your way in? Unless you are that good that you can rise to the top, then you're just gonna be fighting the hard battle. But go and do something that's not done. You have all the market space. If it doesn't work, then you know it doesn't work. But if it works, then you are the one having all the pie.
You're the
I
man.
guess.
No, you're the man.
Okay. So I'll bring up the Titans question here, which is, what was the first official toy that came from the company?
Official?
Mhm.
What does it mean by official? That means
The first
license
under
or
the
just
ramen brand.
The first product that was actually released under the Ramen Toy banner.
80s Commanders. 80s
Yeah.
Commanders. Yep.
So,
I definitely have to say, I think the Racer was probably one of the fastest implemented fan reaction products I've ever seen,
Okay.
or almost, you know what I'm saying? It was, I think that was probably the fastest I've ever seen someone like listening to the fandom of on fire against a particular marketer and saying, "Let me give a democratic response." You know, I think, um, and when that's, I thought that was interesting. But then the canopy and gun Pat. I mean, that literally came out of nowhere. What was that? Just literally a wake up at 3 in the morning of why can't I just do that? Where did that one? I was kind of curious where that came from.
I'm a big fan of the 89 Batmobile. And when I saw McFarlane announcing it, I was as ecstatic as any fanboy would be to go get it. But the problem is that being here in China, a lot of the stuff we don't really get, or we get at a higher price because it's strange. It's made in China, but nobody is distributing in China. It gets shipped out to the US and it gets bought back in at a higher price. So all the Mo2 I'm buying is back from the States, and all the McFarlane stuff as well.
Liquors like
On
that.
the occasion, yeah, on the occasion you have factory leaks, so to speak, but it's not supposed to happen because it's just not supposed to happen, right? If you have factory leaks, it's already something that's not right because it's all contractual. These stuff are not meant to be sold here, so there's no reason why it should actually leak out. But sometimes we do get the occasional leaks. So when I saw the images, I was of course taken aback. Why does it have a gray canopy, and why is the canopy shaped like that? And then I saw enough videos of people doing customization. Say, I'm going to customize, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to do this. So, but not everybody can have those skills. So if somebody is thinking that it's not right, then, and based on the comments, many people think it's not right, but most people can't do anything about it. They just have to accept it because they are not customizers. They don't have the tools, they don't have the materials, the skill to do all these things. So I thought, why don't we do it and let the fans get a proper looking product? That's all. Yeah.
And again, you rolled that out. That was, I think, Mike, you have the Canopy Cat, don't you?
yes, I do, and it was easy to put in. The instructions were very straightforward, both on YouTube and also with the packaging. And again, it creates a whole new profile for the vehicle, and it really brings back what we saw in the movie theater as kids. So I get my question then for you, Ace, is going and looking at the pedigree that you and your partners have gone through so far with your company. I think that's kind of where one of the things that Dave was in his question kind of sparked me in my head here was, what do you like collecting, and does that go into this whole discussion and planning with your partners on what you want to go and create?
Well, I am very selective when it comes to collecting. It can be anything. As long as I like it, I would just buy it. But buying it does not mean I am collecting a series, so to speak. So maybe that's why the way I make my products is a bit abrupt, and sometimes I feel strange why people would say that if you're not making the whole Silverhawks, then I shouldn't buy your first one. So those are little things that I learned along the way. So back to your
Mhm.
question of what I collect, I'm primarily back in the day I started buying toys. I was fortunate that my mom was able to get me a He-Man figure. As far as I remember, He-Man was my first figure, and then we have Macross, VF1 Valkyrie toys.
Oh.
And I would like to just touch a little bit on this because as a boy growing up in Singapore in the 80s, we don't always have access to the toy stores like Toys R Us that's selling the original Hasbro Transformers. We sort of live in our estates, and then downstairs there's a little stationery shop, and then they don't have those original stuff. What they have is the knockoff stuff. And then without those knockoff stuff, probably I wouldn't be introduced to some of the products that is being knocked off. So as much as people have something against the knockoffs, you must sometimes give some credit because they allowed little kids that don't have the funds to buy the originals to get something
No.
that they can then relate. Oh, so I got a knockoff, so I'm going to now get the real thing. That sort of thing, right?
We still
So
have that. We have that here in the States. We have stores,
yeah,
discount stores that put
yeah,
that out there, that
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
And in a way,
And
it's just part of the culture.
yeah.
I definitely
So
want to put a
again,
pin in that too. To
yeah,
talk.
to your question, so I collected. I was buying He-Man stuff as a kid, Macross stuff. I rarely got GI Joe figures for some reason. I'm not sure why. I do see them. I see my friends my friends playing with them, but I don't really remember buying any GI Joes. I had a couple of mass toys, and that was it because they were expensive. And here and there, I got some Starcom, some Sky Commanders. Never had a Silverhawk though. And
Mhm.
yeah, and then as I grew up, I started to go into skill modeling. So at the age of 13, at the height of the Gulf War, I was into making aircraft models, trying to learn how to do weathering, painting, airbrushing, all this kind of stuff. So I sort of left the action figures behind as I was developing my skills at skill modeling. So I solidly did skill modeling from 13 years old up to 17, 18 years old. And then it was when I had the eBay stuff that I started to get back into action figures. Although back then I was still really very focused on skill models, buying and selling skill models. And then again, it was just evolution that it came to pass that the skill modeling community is just not as big as the action figure toy community. So if you want to do something that brings in more revenue than that, then that's the way to go. I mean, we could all go and do the military skill models, all those kits and stuff, but really as a whole demographic, it's much more niche than the already niche toy collector. And that's
Right.
and that's what I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Kato.
Thanks,
Had to have
Kato.
it. Thank you, Kato.
Monopoly money.
It's all
Um,
out of the smoking jacket. So
and then it's the people you mentioned the Silverhawks project, which I'm sorry, man. Again, they were so much better than the other Silverhawks. Just
Okay. But it still can be improved. Yeah. On hindsight.
Mhm.
and then of course you've got the current Aces of Aviation out, which again that's taking a lot of people by storm right now. Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, just if you go ahead, I was just you know, some people say you're flying very close to the sun with that one, though. I have to say.
No, it's actually very simple. We started as third party, and we had a little run in with licensing, because when we showed off our second project, which was the Silverhawks, and then Super 7 approached us to say that you could actually license it. So that was the brush with licensing. But then again, the other projects that we are trying to do is just impossible to get a license, right? Sometimes, like the V. So far, we haven't got the license for that. We want to do other stuff, including, I mean, right off the bat, after going to do a few figures, I was always going to do the Maverick, right? And then we did the Maverick, and then we got a C&D. That means that the Maverick was not to be done. But then again, my whole idea for doing the Maverick was do the Maverick first. We have the tooling, and then do the Aces, right? But now it just got flipped around. Since we can't do the Maverick, then I have to carry on doing the Aces, and that was the whole idea. I was going to do the figure nonetheless. It's just a matter of which one came first. So since we couldn't do the first one, we just, it was not a pivot. It was just reversing the release flow and just do Aces of Aviation. And then this is going to run. This is going to be a series that's going to be running. We're going to do lots of other characters, different flight suits, different helmets. And then that would be the whole idea of the Aces. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's kind of you were saying before of like of a market that people don't hit. Like, I don't think anyone has really hit the fighter pilots on them. You don't need to.
They have them on 12-inch. There's many dress up BBI soldiers on 12-inch. So it's a matter of just using that and shrunk it down to the popular 1/12 scale.
I just got to ask this one. You don't have to say yes or no, but I just want to get off my chest. Is any of them going to be Clint Eastwood from Firefox?
It was not in my mind at all. So since you mentioned it now, you have implanted, you have Inception.
People remember that movie. Yeah. I said I am that geek. You do, and you're going to get a couple. You might get a couple more curveballs from it. I'm going to warn you now because I am that geek.
Oh, good, because my question was, as you say that you were continuing along the line with the Aces of Aviation, is that going to stretch different decades, or would you be bringing some Aces or some interpretations of that from World War II, World War One? Those type of uniforms in that are just an untapped potential that would really kind of bring that whole view of the idea of the Aces, into a broader scope of everything.
Yep, definitely. Yes, Mike. The answer is yes. The whole idea is to do a whole series, and then we just explore whatever. And actually, we actually are giving accolades and homages to these real life people sometimes. Yeah,
cool,
fantastic.
And right now we've got the current projects. I know the full banner on them, but just you're doing this gorgeous line of vans and this gorgeous line of tanks. I mean, I think I should just pull. I should just attempt just to pull up the Ramen site right now for both the armored vehicles and the Ramen economical vans.
Yes, sorry, economical.
I guess we're not calling them the bread boxes anymore.
No.
But
yeah, we do evolve, and then we look at the naming convention and try to improve it the best way we can.
So I just want to pull those up there because it's just there's too many to pull up slides for, to be honest, on that one. So I mean, these are just not only just the nostalgia factor to them. Is there going to be a free candy sticker with the white van?
Not currently, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, not as controversial as the Confederate flag, but still.
Right.
I am very much in love with the Raider right here. That is probably the one I think is the sexiest of them. I mean,
and this is all our evolution. We started with the A-Team van. That was all we wanted to do, just the A-Team van. And then people said, could you give me a simple white van? And then we did the white van. And then since we have a white, then might as well just have a black as well. And then that was when people said, can I have the black van with the add-on parts of the A-Team? And that was when we said, okay, let's just put it on, right? But then again, I thought to myself, if it's just a black van with the add-on parts, then what's the value in that? So the Raider was the most latest evolution of the economical vans. We simply put those parts on, and then we made it all blacken it
Mhm.
so that it fits the narrative. If people want to make it for Punisher, so
Do these
And I
parts are these parts removable?
oh yeah, they just add-ons with some magnetic components.
I was getting ready to
So
say
then,
that's the cool customization that you have with these vehicles that you initially brought in with the Ramen Racer. Just the
Yeah.
whole idea, like it doesn't break the aesthetic, kind of like other toy brands who bring vehicles and they have their add-on parts, but you have these big gaping holes whenever you're not using them. You're
Mhm.
using really smart engineering and items that you might have used, as you said earlier, with your scale modeling, part of your life. That's some of the stuff I've seen a lot of customizers put into place. So I think it's a really cool evolution that we're seeing in your products that we might not see from the bigger brand stores or companies, I should say.
Thank you.
And
this is probably my favorite of the tanks. The Amphisbiana?
Empress Bina.
Amphisbina. I was close. I've been
Yeah.
fighting for this thing. You
Yeah.
have no idea how much time I've been practicing for this show of how to
Google
say
is your friend. Google is your friend. Yeah.
it. That's true. I mean, when I first saw this, I mean, obviously we know with the color scheme of this particular villainous organization this could be for, but I was honestly seeing Tron when I saw that tank.
Okay.
It was
Cool.
meant what I was, which,
yeah,
uh, but these again, this is that thing of it hasn't been made yet, so
really, I'm sorry, I'm a little speechless because every time I see the tank, I'm like, thank goodness Ace extended the pre-order window for the early bird, because I mean that just I think I like about it, not only just the size and the fact that it blends the realism that that we remember from our younger selves and collecting toys, but it's that innovation that I just mentioned where you have the ability to replacing the parts and creating a whole new vehicle, whole new experience for the collector, whether it's for photography, display, or playing with their kid. And I've had experience with all three of those with the Ramen Racer at this point, and I just love looking at all this stuff.
yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
So am I back? Sorry, guys.
Okay.
No, that was
Must.
me. That was my internet. That was my
Oh,
internet.
okay.
That was my
Well,
internet.
good.
I'm sorry.
No, Dave, you did that on purpose because it gave me a chance to formulate my question, so I wasn't going to ramble. So thank you.
Okay.
So throughout our conversation so far, Ace, you've kind of mentioned some aspects of licensing, evolution, conversations that you and your partners have had in researching different IPs and whatnot. Again, throughout history, and as Dave mentioned, he and I met through collecting Transformers and just being in that toy community. And besides the official from Takara and Hasbro, there's the third party companies.
I can move that
And
slide.
we've seen two of the big ones. Actually, I'll say three because my personal favorite is Mastermind Creations, but we know we have X Transbots and Fans Toys, names that are kind of synonymous within the collecting community, whether you're a Transformers collector or just an adult collector of them in and of itself. And while there's, I say Mastermind Creations, they have their own little twist on some of those classic Transformers that we grew up with. Fans Toys is a little closer, as Dave said, a little closer to the sun in regards to just really recreating something. And, the community kind of either goes with it or goes along. It kind of covers and protects that type of company. If that's what they're getting, they're looking for something, they get it from there. What we have here are like some of the examples, again, with the Marshall and especially with the Makita line with the Gull Wing and the Great White. Can you kind of go through and educate me on licensing as a whole and how you in your company avoid that whole idea of like, oh well, this is just the creation of something that without licensing or whatnot. There's a lot of discussion with it. I just want to get it straight from you on like how that process works.
Well, actually, it is not rocket science. Just want to go on a tangent a little bit and talk about those items that is not licensed, that is counterfeit, that is infringing on IP. For example, if you have people making unlicensed Mickey Mouse, unlicensed Minions, because they are seizing the opportunity for a profit. There's obvious demand with all these Mickey Mouse and Minions and stuff like that. So the company that's making all this without license is not making 1,000 pieces. They are making tens of thousands of pieces because they're trying to profit from it with a sole purpose of profit. There is no like, I'm going to make the Mickey Mouse with such a difference of creativity. I'm getting the best artist to make it. I'm getting the best artist to make the Minion so that it's different and it's so unique. No, they're just photocopying, replicating, right, without permission.
Okay.
So this is obviously not to be condoned. Even myself, I do not condone this. And you can look at the news reports of very established distributors in the UK who has done years of business, but because they brought in a batch of counterfeit Ninja Turtles, they were put behind bars, right? Because it's just so egregious. Okay. Now what we're doing is not, I wouldn't say that it's legal, but neither am I going to say it's illegal, because you have got to look at what it happens. Because when you are doing something to a property, and if you are making it look bad, if you are defacing it, if you are doing it in such a way where people will have a negative opinion of the IP, then you are probably infringing, right? But if you are doing something that is of benefit, you're trying to make it, you're trying to get attention so that you can get into a cooperation, right? It's a chicken or the egg situation. Then I think there's something that to be talked about. I can give one example. Jazz Inc.'s dioramas started doing unlicensed Star Wars and Batmobiles. And then they are now the premium, the gold licensee of Warner Brothers. Why? Because Warner Brothers, by some means, got in contact with them and they reached an agreement, they reached a deal, and they are able to now be a licensee. So if Jazz Inc.'s diorama did not, so first of all, why would Jazz Inc. diorama not go and get a license proper in the beginning? Why did they choose to do a third party? I don't know. Maybe like me, they were not granted a license because they are nobody. Who the hell are you? Or they simply did not think that they would be caught or be involved. I don't know. I'm just speculating, right? So Jazz Inc., Josh, if you're watching me, I'm just expressing my opinion. So, but at the end of the day, good on you. You are getting you're now a licensee of Warner Brothers and you are doing great stuff. So same thing here. What we do sometimes is in hope that once you do something that's good, the licensor will come to you to cooperate. And that's what it is. Because if you think about it, the licensor is engaging artists outside of their company to do all these stuff. And as far as I know, again, is I'm speculating. I'm not sure it should. I don't think it should get me in trouble. HasLab projects are also subcontracted projects. It's not something that's done like internal in the Hasbro thing. HasLabs are Hasbro saying that, hey, this ABC company has this idea. Let's put it to the crowd fund, and then when it happens, Then we have this win-win situation. So same thing, in Mattel, Hasbro, big companies, they don't have the resources in-house because they have so many products under their brand. Hot Wheels for Hasbro, Barbie, and whatever, right? So you have got to, at some point, subcontract. Even Hot Toys, as I know it, back in the day in Hong Kong, Hot Toys would subcontract some of their design to a design company. I was there. I was speaking to this design company, and they said they're actually doing stuff for Hot Toys, right? So it is no secret. It is not something that's like, wow, it happens because when you are out of your realm, you have got to delegate and subcontract, right? Even for example, American Airlines, Cathay Pacific, big airlines, they don't do everything on their own. They have to subcontract to the people that is good at doing what they're doing, so that it benefits the company's overall operations. So getting back to this, we do what we do because we love what we do, and we follow in the footsteps of others. We look at the third-party transformers, and they are doing it without problems. Even though I heard back in the day, as back as 2014, when I was speaking to an industry professional, and he said the third-party transformers, the days are numbered. Just you wait and see. But 10 years on, they're still thriving and growing, and more companies. In fact, I would like to just question if it is in fact different companies or the same company putting up different branches to do it, because it's no easy task to design a transformer. I can attest that I'm not going to be able to do it at all, even if I learn for another 10 years. Okay.
You got the Makina. You're
And
good with that.
yeah, and then I surmise that because all these third-party transformers are all ex-Hasbro, ex-Takara employees or engineers, that because they have this little bond, that they are allowed their lane. That's my surmise. That's my surmise. Case in point, why would Fans Project, having done Transformers all this while, suddenly stop their development of the G.I. Joe attack
The
thing
Skyhawk, yeah.
because of a C&D, right? They said that there's a C&D, and hence they have to change the design. But they're doing Transformers with no C&D. So it does. Sometimes you get to look at the crumbs, look at the evidence, and then try to formulate your own, what could have happened. So I think what could have happened is the fact that, as I surmise, because they are ex, relation, there is some leeway given for you to carry on, and then they seem to, maybe, again, all my surmise, all my speculation, they seem to see that there is a benefit in having these third-party people do their stuff, because I can also copy what they are doing for my own product, right? You see that Hasbro Transformers are improving, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the competitions makes you get better, right? If you destroy everything and then you are not good yourself, then what's the point of the whole thing? Again, I'm going on a tangent, right? So
No,
back to the
great.
thing,
This is a
back to the
beautiful insight.
we definitely want to license as long as we can get the footsteps in, and of course, if the proposition is acceptable. I mean, if I go in and then, like I said, my example back in the day when I was trying to license Batman, Warner Brothers said for Asia, you can get the license just for Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Hong Kong, Taiwan, for 60,000 US dollars to do what? To do a super deformed Batwing and a super deformed Batmobile. How am I going to get back 60,000 US dollars selling those two things in the territories that I'm given? It doesn't make sense. Right? It
Right.
doesn't make sense. So, and then you have people saying that just because you can't reach an agreement, just because it's too expensive, is not the reason or the excuse for you to not license. No, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right? So again, coming back, we want to license, but first everything must come into place. How do we license Centurions? Because there is nobody, even Hasbro himself don't have the proper paperwork for Centurions, right?
Okay.
Why do we have no C&D for the 80s Commanders? Why do we have no C&D for the Marshal? Because nobody has the paperwork for this, right? So that's what it is. We do our best to do, and then I think there should be a change in the literature for the legalese of what we're doing. there has to be a change such that for what we're doing, for the quantities that we're doing, it does not yet qualify as an infringement. There has to be some kind of rule, right? The rule must change. And according to what we have seen in human legal system, rules have changed, right?
It's like music and doing a music versus doing a parody of a song.
Maybe like that. Maybe like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So using an example of a line that you talked about earlier, that was one of my personal favorites, was Sky Commanders. So say you wanted to go and get that license or that IP to license out to build products. Now you said about there's some location restrictions that you may face. Say that, or help me out understanding this. If you looked for the license for Sky Commanders and you were remembering, the figures, the vehicles, the backpacks, the whole, the string, everything that was going along that original toy line, would the IP license ever restrict you from saying, I want to make Sky Commanders, but you can only make these specific figures? Is that something that is part of that process as well?
Yeah. So
Okay.
whichever license holder has of the things, they can only grant you those license. And if I can speak about it when the dust settles, I will come back and circle around and talk about the Great White. But currently, I will not talk about it. Yeah. Which leads to your point, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
I also want to say, with Mike was saying with Sky Commanders, if you ever do Spiral Zone, I will buy every goddamn one of them. I say we're talking about 80s stuff. Sorry. Anyway, we were talking on here just because I've got here back on the board here. I think you addressed one of my favorite issues at the very beginning of our conversation of the risk versus the reward, especially because especially the path that you're choosing of taking these licenses or taking these products, taking these homages that are not being touched by other properties. As you said, you're not making the 86th version of Optimus Prime. You're Acimus Optimus Matrix, whatever. You're not doing that. Instead, you're doing the Marshall, which is I found really funny. As soon as yours came out, all of a sudden somebody else came out with one. Yours is definitely scales better, but taking these paths, and then I guess another question I have, especially with the Marshall, and you kind of touched a little with Silverhawks. I'm curious, how deep do you plan on going on some of these lines? Are you just going as testing the market, seeing if it moves, or do you you're going to be doing the hex, the little whatever those little dudes were in the vehicles and things like?
I think the first thing we have to do is to satisfy the collector's most desirable demand first. So that is the main character, right? We satisfy that first. And then when there is bandwidth and resources for us, we can go and build on other characters. Because everybody knows that the other characters, the lesser characters, is not going to sell as well as the main character. And we're already having trouble selling the main character.
There
Right?
you go.
So imagine the lesser characters. So it has got to come to a point of time where if the company has grown and is able to allocate resources, that let's say we just want to break even. If we can break even, we'll do the projects, because no company in its right mind would do projects that will be at a deficit and a loss. Do a loss here, do a loss there, and do a loss there. 3 losses, and probably we'll just close shop.
Well, maybe Warner Brothers with how they've been treating some of the good movies. Batgirl, still mad about that.
Well, you can see in real life, Hasbro losing $1 billion. They're laying off people. They're selling their IPs. It affects it applies to everybody, not just myself. Big corporations suffer as well, right? Apple tried to bring their manufacturing to India, and the iPhones came out crappy. They got to bring it back to China. So it happens to everybody. There comes a time where you experience enough losses that the bot will say, okay, let's stop this and let's get to this. So it happens to everything. Definitely.
Okay. I'm going to hit some comments here and a couple more questions before we move into the next part here. And again, everyone, thank you for putting your questions in. I'm sorry I haven't been able to show them off automatically, but we have ML Series here who says, "Sorry, missed this. What is the product that you have helped bring to market that has sold the most units for your company?"
Well, I think our most unit so far is the gull wing.
Cool.
Yep, we got about 2,000 pieces of that.
And now you're on your, is it the third release or third iteration of that toy?
No, we did 2 releases and that was it. The second release was much lower in terms of demand than the first. Hence, we had to do the exclusives. All right.
Right.
Again, there's a
Right.
MOQ to be met, 1,000 pieces. So the first time round we did the gull wing and we gave everybody a chance to pre-order at the early bird price. There was also the chance to buy it after the early bird ended, but it was still in production. And then once we consolidated that order, we say, let's go. This is it. We can't do. I would have loved to do 5,000 pieces, right? So we didn't hit that, and we just did what we had, and then it was in production. The moment the gull wing landed into the hands of collectors, other collectors say, "Oh, I missed it. Can you just do it again?" Etc. etc. But we have a commitment until something changes that we will not do reissues. Okay, nothing that we have done is a reissue except for the retro packaging 80s Commander, which I'll explain later. So we're not going to reissue the gull wing, but instead we came up with another iteration, which is the one on your screen right now without the tempo prints, with stickers, and at least it gives a chance to those who want the gull wing, and yet it does not upset the people who got the gull wing, went in on the early bird, supported the project. We're not just going to reissue it so that, and then the gull wing actually, again, we can't control if we sold to scalpers and stuff like that, because the gull wing was on eBay for like 400, 500, 600 US dollars at one point in time. So what we did was again, we tried to satisfy everybody. We had a second chance offer of this gull wing, and then the orders came in like 500. So how am I going to make 500 pieces? And then to make the 1,000, we add on 200, 200, 200. One was the RoboRobo exclusive, one was the JoePax exclusive, and one is the Botcoin exclusive. So 3 times of 200 is 600, plus 500, that's 1,000. That's over 1,000. So we got the minimum quantity order with the factory. And that explains everything. Whatever that we do, you ask me, I'll give you an explanation. It's not just because, and people are asking why only do 200 of the exclusive, because I had to make this plan so that it makes sense, right? I was asked for a Botcoin exclusive, and then since we're going to Joe Fest, let's do an exclusive. And then, RoboRobo in Singapore, I tried to pitch the clear gull wing to our distributor in China for Wonder Festival. They rejected the idea, so I got to find somebody else, and that was what happened. That's it.
This is, again, fascinating. This side of the business is probably, I think, fans should know about this to appreciate what comes out. We know it's not just you who does this. This is anybody in the independent biz, whether it be the guys who do the Kickstarters, whether it be the guys who do Jada Toys, all these projects like this. So this is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about some of your original work. The Titanium Titans, first of all, is you're working with Riot Press.
Yes.
And this is yours. And I'm just, again, I've personally been, when we were talking about this the other night, I must have done a complete deep dive onto everything that's going on here, because this scratches all my itches. It looks,
wow,
the retro style, the almost near Sentai look of it, the just the use of the plastic and the molds. I'm looking at this going, okay, this is where you're able to actually recoup some of the molds that you have. And one of the questions, and I think this was kind of asked at the beginning, is this, I don't want to say, not necessarily I don't say a dumping ground, that's not the right word for it, but when you do like a mold, like the Marshall, for example, will we see like a variation of the Marshall mold, some retooling of that, probably put into a line like this so you can get more use out of those molds? to kind of
Most definitely, we try our best to amortize all tooling if it makes sense.
yeah.
Yep. So yeah,
But
I mean,
this
no one in his right mind would say let's make a tooling and then let's call it a day, right? You will want to amortize it again because you want to grow the company, right? The more you're able to sell to bring in the revenue, that's more revenue for R&D and future licenses and development because all these things are not free, right? It's not
no,
free.
no.
So
No.
yeah.
I mean, it's like the old joke. How many Ken and Ryu's can they come out? We got Ken, Ryu, Akuma,
Yeah.
Dan. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, obviously that's for the video game sprites, but but using for a figure, they love that. We talk with Transformers, Starscream,
Yeah.
Thundercracker, Acid
Yeah.
Storm. But I think this is just also this IP into itself. Just again, we could hopefully see it almost as like the all-star look of your designs. Like you have mold A from nostalgia thing, then you're able to retool it. And all of a sudden, hey, we got a new Titan in here to add to this line. And how did you meet up with Riot Press to start all this up?
Well, I guess it's because Ramen Toy came up to the scene, and then Riot saw Ramen, and I guess Patrick liked what we were doing, and then Patrick approached me to help him with his Seekers production, which we did. So the Seekers from Riot Press is out in the market. It's a transformable robot to space aircraft thing, and then I was initially wanting to make the Titanium Titans as the third party name for Silverhawks, but because we don't want to go in at the point of time when Super 7 was really launching out all the figures. So in that sense, they were blanketing the fan base with their wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, of figures. We don't want to suddenly go in and say, oh, here is the our version of Steelheart, because we actually announced that like almost 9-10 months ago, but we stopped that because we felt that our one figure would not grab the market when the market already has all these figures. And again, the fans of Silverhawks wants to buy the whole line for some reason. They don't just want to buy one. So we held that back, and then we thought that we would introduce the Titanium Titans as our own IP instead, making the Silverhawk figures part of the cameo in that universe. So you will see a Steelheart, you will see a Copper Kid, and even a Quicksilver again as cameo pieces of the Titanium Titans.
Okay.
And then that will really muddy the waters. And then if they want to do a C&D, they have to say, wait a minute, it's Titanium Titans. So how do you?
Okay.
Yeah.
I get exactly where you're going with it, man. I mean, it's
make it difficult for them to make it clear cut.
All because I've got a comic book that's got a guy with a big sword, and all of a sudden I run into another barbarian who looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Doesn't mean that it's Conan. Looks like him, and no. But I am again. This is probably, as weird as it is, of all your projects, the most I'm excited about.
Thank you. Well, we're going to launch it next year. Yeah, around March.
All right, so we got a question here for you. If you were abducted by aliens tomorrow to build toys on their planet, would that be the end of ramen on Earth, or are there other people who would keep running the Ramen Toy Earth branch? Welcome to Monday.
I think the team would have enough resources to get the sculptors to carry on certain ideas, but whether or not you will lose the flavor of Ace, but you'll still get ramen. Let's just put it this way. Yeah.
So you're saying you lose the spice of the ramen as of its whole.
Again, there's different. I like to use analogy. So there's different chefs, different tastes of ramen. I contribute my taste, but it doesn't mean it's the end all. There's enough capable. My partners are capable enough seeing the direction. There's enough history and records for them to reference and say what works, what is not working. We have a whole list of drawer plans that they can look at, and then they can implement it. but whether or not it tastes the same is a different story. That's all. Not discounting anything. I'm just saying that it loses the taste of what I would contribute to the
Like,
whole thing.
you're the char
Yep.
siu of the ramen. So.
Trust you. No, I'm the soup base. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
Yeah.
say but the pork's the best part. No.
Yeah. No, the soup is the best part.
Okay, fair.
David screwed up the slide here. Sorry.
So I'll get that on there. Get
It's
that.
okay.
Oh, I know what
Just
to
do that full screen. Yeah.
There we
Oh
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, future projects. Again, the Flipboard project. That was probably one of the neatest things that came out of left field. That was one of the fastest independent Kickstarters actually I saw in a while. And, again, how did you just see like the fan art for that? And you're like, as you mentioned before, you had nostalgia with He-Man, and you're just like, I'm gonna make me a He-Man figure.
Well, it all started with the Wandar exclusive Mattel creation, and then I guess Matt Hatter didn't get it, and then he drew up this Flipball character as a sketch. The moment I saw that character, I knew that this is gonna work, and I approached Mega J to say, "Hey, can you link me up with Matt Hatter?" Because they know each other, but Hatter and myself is only acquainted via one Silverhawk review where I sent him a review piece. That's it. So we're not really, in like talking communications. So I referred to Mega J as the intermediary to link us up, and then the rest is history. Yep.
Cool.
And would you see yourself? I mean, are you going to be working with other creators? Are you just going to be like, almost like, I don't say like going through Instagram of, ooh, that's cool, I want to do that, or do you see yourself talking to other people in the like almost doing a grassroots through the fandom?
Yeah.
I don't purposefully go out to look for stuff. When things come my way, then I'll do it. That's how I operate. So I believe in a lot in destiny and stuff like that. So I don't purposely go out to force something. I let it come. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like for example, now we did what we did with Makina, and then we had interaction with Hasbro. We are talking with Hasbro now, which I can't talk about. So
Cool.
if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it's just meant not to be. So I'm hopeful that something happens, but if it doesn't, it's just like you're just not cut out for this. That's all. It's just not meant for this marriage. So I always encourage people that if they have an idea, my doors are open to bring it forward to me to assist you, because you are not in China. I doubt you'll be spending $5,000 to travel over here just to see the factory and then travel back again every now and then to see the molds and see this and see that. So why don't I help in this department since I'm here to assist you? Because we need more enterprises to start being the next generation, because gone will be the days of Hasbro and Mattel. I'm not saying gone as in they'll be bankrupt. No, I'm just saying that again, the people that brought us the toys we love are you and me, but other guys in the 80s at 30 years old designing the He-Man, designing the Commanders, Sky Commanders, designing the Starcom, those are those guys, right? So who are these guys that are not in the corporations that we need them to be, simply because of certain, I don't know, there's just certain selection process where they're not selecting. Look at like you just mentioned, look at all the Instagram. You have talented photographers, talented customizers, talented sculptors, but why are not all of them working for these corporations? Again, there's a variety of reasons. Some want to be independent, and independent is great because Mattel, Hasbro, as I said before, do engage these independent people, right? But why are we not really seeing them in the products? Why is He-Man's face always not correct? Why is certain things like that? So there is still again, I'm not saying it, you can see it with the proof. There is certain deficiencies in the big corporations that for some reason is not being addressed, because they have the resources to be the best they can be. Look at championship winning teams. They have the resources to recruit the best players, the best marketing, the best design for the kids to make it the best it can possibly be. But obviously, we're not seeing the best, and for some reason, I don't know why. So, same thing. I'm on a tangent again, But yeah, I'm open to work with anybody because I want to help bring on the next wave of things. Yeah.
Brilliant, because that's kind of where I have one quick question, Dave, to go with this. So with what you just said, I think your mentality towards that encouragement of that new creative minds, that new creative lines that people who might not have had the formal education or the experience, the real world experience building toys, but they have an idea, they gather it together and present it to the public through a Kickstarter or anything similar to what we've seen with a lot of these great lines that are coming out, and they're getting funded. They're living that dream. I mean, as you said, with Flipboard, you're helping Mad Hatter. I know you reached out to Mr. Wonderful for his Hexa Stacks when it didn't go through this first iteration of a Kickstarter. So it sounds like you're saying, encouraging these new ideas, these people that may not have their foot in the door with the big companies, but they're bringing a lot of new stuff, a lot of new worlds. I mean, we talk to people in the community. We jokingly talk in the 3POA with Cato, and you see him working with a lot, with Quentin J. Bedwell, with their whole world building that they're talking about with this graphic novel. And I mean, I go into the streams where they're talking about it, and that's the first thing that everyone says is like, these need to be toy lines. This world just looks so awesome. Is that the kind of stuff that you're talking about? You're seeing that something that's exciting, and if someone brings that idea of like, here's this Bible of a world, can you help us bring bring that to fruition? How does that work? I mean, is that something that's possible, I guess, for people? Is that where you are looking for that inspiration for that next generation, I guess I could say?
I would say a simple yes.
Valid.
Simple yes.
I think you explained it better than I give.
Yeah.
Well, here's how I want to bounce this one for you. This is just something. I mean, I guess kind of what you just said there is like, as you said, being that resource, which came to my last question on there. We all got to watch this beautiful story of the Brutal Realm project going through. And they kind of, as I like to say, they did it right. They seeked out a mentor, in this case, Dave Vonner, who was an experienced project manager on this. And it sounds like you would be willing to do exactly that, since you could go to the factories, talk to them, and be that go-between, almost like a producer for it all. Like the...
Yeah.
So,
yep.
So I want to bounce this one for you, especially because, again, pulling from nostalgia. I mean, look at you look at the demographic of the market. It's basically us man children between the ages of about 38 and 55. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're that Generation X that some people call the lost generation. The Zennial, not the millennials per se. We were born between the baby boomers and the millennials. This is something that I don't want to say it's one of the things that's kept me up at night, but I want to see if this clicks with you. That this era of toys during the 80s, the Joes, the He-Mans, the Transform, these living toy half-hour toy commercials we all watched. In some ways, I think that is the only time anything was ever marketed towards our generation. I mean, after that, it was literally everything was marketed towards them. It was either marketed towards the generation before us, the baby boomers, the cars, and everything else. And then when we grew up, being in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, nothing was ever marketed towards us ever again. That it feels like that these brands that we are so dedicated to is the reason we're so dedicated to them, is like that was the only thing that was ever actually presented for us. That was just a theory that's kind of gone to my head of why this particular demographic, Mike and I, these people in the chat room, again, these things resonating with you is because it's the only thing that was ever for us. What are your thoughts on that theory? That's why we're so passionate about these fandoms. How dare you ruin the Transformers? Because that was my Transformers. How dare you ruin G.I. Joe? That was my G.I. Joe. If that makes sense.
I wouldn't go that far to say.
Okay.
I would say that collectors, there's a big spectrum, right? We are a spectrum of people. That's why we have opposing views. The ones that's at the ends of the spectrum have the most opposing views. The one as you go to the center, then you probably have like-minded people.
Okay.
So for me, I wouldn't say that Michael Bay destroyed Transformers for me. He brought in a new generation of Transformers collectors who like his designs. His designs are a pain in the ass to sculpt because I tried to sculpt the Optimus Prime, right? But you can see that it challenges the people to innovate, and you can now have a transforming Optimus Prime that is so intricate. There's like no way to transform, but it transforms, right? This new third-party Transformers, right? It's like no way. This no way, but they did it. So it's amazing. These are the stuff that pushes, I wouldn't say humanity, but it pushes the creators to go and achieve it. And that's what we're trying to do, right? A lot of stuff with Makina is just not possible, but we try to push it. We just try. We sometimes may succeed, we may fall short. There's an in-between. For people who say that, how dare you ruin this, for us, it's the ends of the spectrum. Let's not pay too much attention to that because that's their opinion. They are entitled to it.
Mm-hmm.
You have the people that call Action Force a ripoff of Hasbro's Classified. You can let them have their opinion, right? I just put out a Master of the verse 4 and 5 hits. Some say that this is just wrong. Don't release it. But I listen to those that say this is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, everybody will have their opinions, and I think I've learned to let those not positive ones just go by, because I'm here for the positive. And it's not about I only hear the positive. I am trying to deliver to the people who are receptive to what I'm doing, more so that I want to hear positives. No, I don't want to hear great job, Ace, you've done, knock it out of the park. It just means that these people are the ones that's going to be buying the products. That's all.
Right.
Okay. For those that say this is a ripoff of the HasLab, this is overpriced. Okay, go look at eBay. It's $700 for the Ramen Racer now. Right. I'm not sure how, but people are buying it. Look at the computer auctions.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the fandom is critical because there's passion, and it's good to have the passion, because if you don't have passion, then what are we doing anyway? And why is this even important? Because it's important because it gives us the meaning to get to work, to get that paycheck, to get these things to satisfy ourselves. We don't care about what's going on in the rest of the world. I don't care if the guy has a Ferrari, a big bungalow house. No, I care because now I have the perfect He-Man. I have the perfect Optimus Prime. Or wait a minute, this used to be perfect. Now I got a better 86 Optimus Prime. You see?
Yeah.
That's what keeps us awake. And that's what we should be doing. Right? Brutal Realm, right? They have a Kickstarter that seemingly, to my opinion, was like not happening, and then suddenly it happened, and that's great because now they have a chance to deliver it and let people see if this, great, this is going to be great. Because what I saw in the pictures, I couldn't really tell. So we need all these things to happen. And again, I think I ran off on a tangent on what your question was.
That's good. No, it's good. I'm fine on that. I was just saying why people, the older fandom is just so protective of those IPs and almost resistant to the change that you were talking about. That's kind of where I was. But no, that's actually, I'm going to put this one right here. What the Titan just said: constructive criticism is essential for growth.
Absolutely,
that's the truth.
And I think when you were saying, Ace, about those, extreme endpoints, which we all understand, we all love. I mean, to me, Soundwave is going to be a cassette player, but my 8-year-old nephew is not going to even know what that is other than it's a big square box. And some of the talk within the community, as Dave was saying, you have Transformers One. It's a re-envisionment. It's a reigniting that idea of what a transformer is, and that story that we grew up with is now evolving. I mean, we've seen it evolve over the past decades in the comic book form. That world is what helps create that innovation, creates those new ideas, and allows new people to come into the fandom, because sooner or later we're not going to be around. How much of the 80s nostalgia are we going to be able to keep pushing forward over the next 2 decades?
It's pushing
You know,
40, so it's pushing 40 years. You can
Right.
only go so far.
And we also, I mean,
So am I.
you see some of our brands that we grew up with that haven't really had that current social impact, or if it has, it wasn't accepted as easily as others. An example of one that didn't really go well, G.I. Joe. You had the 2 live action movies, then you had the Snake Eyes origin, was not received that well because it wasn't my G.I. Joe.
Mhm.
But then you see the re-envisionment and redoing of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they're still relevant today. It's interesting to me, like how certain IPs you see it stagnate over time, or as we've seen, it's not been, it kind of fades off. But then there's this core group of worlds that collectors of all ages continuously want to see more of, and Turtles is a prime example of that in my life.
That's
Power Rangers, we've seen that. How many iterations have we seen Power Rangers come through our lives? um Macross, as you said, that was something that you had in your youth. I remember watching it, Harmony Gold Sunday mornings from 6 a.m. to 7, telling me that great story. Those still resonate through our mythos, our desires, our core beings, and if we're not engaging, as you said, the new people, the new minds, then what are we actually doing this for? We want to keep these stories going throughout our lives. And you, Ace, through your company, are kind of doing that, not only by bringing back some of our memories, some of our love, but as as you sit here with moving into the future and working with different partners, you're creating that new world as well for everyone. So without not going and saying applauding you again, but this is stuff we need to see. This is stuff that helps keep the world alive, so to speak. So now I'll step off my soapbox for that.
We are just we're gonna hit probably hitting a little starting to push towards our endpoint mark here. Anything particular you'd like to be? I'd have to ask if there's anything you'd like to share, push, talk about the Musk project, or anything other neat things down the line that we should be aware of.
I think product wise, I will explain it and talk about it as and when I have the things to announce.
Valid.
And that would be also definitely on my socials. So I'll take this rest of the stream to just talk a little bit about stuff that we don't normally talk about. So when you
Awesome.
mentioned about the remake of G.I. Joe, it didn't do well, but at least that people are trying, right? The big corporations that we accuse them of not knowing the fandom, they are at least trying to bring something. And then
A bad
it
idea.
only meant that the merchandise failed. It doesn't mean that the IP failed. The IP is still the IP. The merchandise may fail, but it brings people who don't know what the hell G.I. Joe is to now finally know what G.I. Joe is, or they might even try to discover and Google search G.I. Joe. They might find the original designs, the original character, and then start to go into that. So you always need something to lead to something else.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my opinion. And then, as for myself doing all these things, I hope to aspire the next, again, not an ego thing, the next ace or whoever is who listens to this, see what I'm doing and then aspire to do it, because I am inspired by the people that came and went. For example, I always like to quote Steve Jobs, because it is through him, through his words, that said that you can only do great work if you love what you do. That I chose to confirm that what I'm doing is correct, even though I had slogged over many years to try to get to some kind of a success. I don't even call myself a success now. All right, but it's keeping me happy doing what I love. And as I mentioned before, anything that's financial will automatically come upon achieving what you love to do and doing it well. If you love what you do but just can't do it well, then you won't get to see the stuff. I mean, imagine, yes, I love to make the figures, but I'm putting out crap figures, loose joints, bad sculpts, bad coloring. No point. See, I
Mhm.
have to do good and deliver good. And I think that, you know, if I can aspire the next person to come up, and if they can do something better than what I'm doing, then great. Then I will, know my role, and then maybe step back from this and let that person excel in that. For example, I'm not going to challenge Hot Toys for 1/6 scale figures, right?
Mhm.
No, but some people did that, like Blitzway and some other companies, and they proved that they can do it,
Mhm.
right? You have Jazz Inc.'s Diorama that challenge Hot Toys Batmobile with an awesome 1/6 scale Batmobile. If they can do it better, yes. But if you can't do it better and you go in and try to challenge it, then I think it's quite more difficult. That's what I'm saying. So, you know, I would like to say, bring it on. Bring on the competition. Show
Mhm.
us there are tons of artists right there out there. Some of them indeed, they are burdened by having to pay the bills, and they know that getting a freelance job here and there, it doesn't really pay. They need to go and do something more stable. Yes, that's all by all means fine. But the moment you are able to take that step, and fortune favors the brave, then you may be able to see the results once you put your effort, the time and energy and money into doing what you love, getting the right connections, and you will get there. You will
Mm.
get there. Just like Brian Tracy said, if you are in a long line, if you drop out of line, you're never going to get in front. But if you stay in line and keep on going, somehow you will get to the front.
I think
Great.
that is words that not only words to live by. I think we can't top it off of that. So I'm gonna go ahead on that one. I think I'm gonna call that because that is ending on positivity.
Yeah.
So Ace, I just want to say thank you so much again for taking your time, and especially early in the morning. We appreciate that you're getting yourself motivated for this, and
Yeah.
just thank you for Mike. I just want to say thank you. We'll let you go and let you have a very highly productive day. Oh, there you go. One question
Yep.
since were you able to get yourself a Death's Head figure, man?
Yes, I got a Death's Head figure when I was at the ACGHK
Oh,
just before going to Wonder Festival. Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
awesome.
Well, I,
Yeah.
I I guess it kind of leads a little bit. What's next? I guess for the remainder of the year. I mean, what is there? Are there more shows that are going to be coming
Oh,
up?
yeah.
Or
There is a show that we're going to go to in Malaysia at the end of September. So we have a booth there, and then we're
Mhm.
going to jet off to Wonder Festival Shanghai to check out the event, and then we'll end the year in Singapore with Comic Con in Singapore, and that's
Okay.
it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we continue, or just one last question, I guess. Throughout this conversation, you've talked about learning, evaluating, adapting. If there's one key thing that Ramen Toy has learned since its inception through today, what is that one thing?
Wow. It's hard to pick out one thing. There's so many things.
Okay.
I guess the one thing is just be true. just be true. Whatever it is, just be true. There's no need to talk falsehoods. No need to make things up. Just be true.
And
That's
that's, I think anyone who has been following the path of your company, you have been. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So I guess we'll say again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you for everybody in the replay squad. We appreciate every one of you. Once again, go hit up Ramen Toys on Instagram. Hit their Facebook page. Follow all their socials. This is, as I said, as much as we appreciate you coming on the shows, this is how he's going to be getting the news to us. That's how the official channels will always be the best channels. Please check out Junkie on Crafts and Builds on his YouTube channel. And if you want to, go ahead and check mine out. And always hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and most importantly, as always, until next time, take care. Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.